Imagine yourself in the hush of the night as a light rain taps gently on the high stone roof, creating a soft sound that resembles whispers. In the distance, an owl calls out hoarsely, while the wind slowly seeps through narrow windows covered only by wood and worn woolen cloth. Welcome to the past knot, the world of shining knights and silk-draped princesses from fairy tales. But the real world of medieval castles, cold, damp, and filled with a silence that speaks. Tonight, we journey through mossy stone walls, down shadowed corridors, and up narrow spiral staircases, into the lives of those who truly lived in these fortresses. First, we'll wake up beside a servant or minor noble in a chilly stone chamber. Then we'll walk in the boots of a lesser knight, not a storybook hero, but a man surviving political traps and fragile honor. After that, we'll explore hidden corridors and the truth behind alleged torture chambers separating myth from fact. Finally, we'll peek into a throne room feast where power, wine, and tension shimmer in torchlight. Take a deep breath. Let this voice gently guide you into the past. No rush, no brightness. Just enough shadow to let your mind drift. Imagine waking in pitch darkness. Not because it's still night, but because the castle window is no larger than your head, unglazed and covered with thick wool cloth. The air brushing your face is damp and cold, carrying the scent of old stone, dust, and faint smoke from last night's hearth. You sleep on a pile of straw covered with coarse woolen blankets. Beneath you, the straw sometimes crackles and might even shift slightly as mice have shared the warmth of your body through the night. There is no alarm clock, no chime. Just a distant church bell or the shout of a senior servant signaling that the day has begun. Your washing water sits in a tin basin, ice cold. A bath that's once a month, if fortune favors you. The walls around you are not warm timber, but cold, gray stone that sweats moisture. The chamber smells musty, part sour, part moldy. The timber ceiling above appears brittle, and drips of water sometimes fall from its cracked seams. Your day begins without a grand breakfast. Yesterday's hard bread, a bit of salty cheese, and if the kitchen is generous, a scrap of preserved meat. Drinking water, never. It's too risky. You'll sip watered-down ale safer than the dirty well. Then it's time to leave the cramped room. Perhaps to the kitchen to stoke the fire, or to the training yard if you're a squire. A spiral staircase of slick stone awaits, and if you slip, there's no iron railing. Just rough stone and likely bruises. The whole morning passes in muffled noise. Footsteps above clatter from the kitchen, sometimes shouting. But the thick stone walls dampen everything. You never quite know what is happening in the other wing, and perhaps that is for the best. Imagine you're a knight. Not a renowned one, not revered. Just a lesser knight. You have a sword, yes, and sometimes a horse. But your status, is fragile. You don't own land. You serve a greater lord, bound by oath, constantly measuring every step because one mistake, one wrong word could cost you everything. Your morning starts in the training yard. Your voice holds little sway, but your body must endure. The training isn't glorious. It's survival. Your limbs are bruised from yesterday. Your knees ache from the last winter, but still, you rise. Because if you appear weak, rumors follow. In the dining hall, you do not sit at the high table. You eat first, quickly, on long benches with servants and other minor knights. The room falls quiet when the Lord enters. You bow, your meal is over, even if you're still hungry. Then the politics begin. Perhaps a letter arrives from a neighboring baron offering to share information. But you know if discovered, it might be called treason. So you write carefully, disguising your reply inside an old scroll. In the castle, all eyes watch. Every smile may hide a trap. Every offer could be a test of loyalty. In the afternoon, you're sent to deliver a message across the land. The journey itself is dangerous, yet oddly freeing outside the castle. You can breathe just a little more. But even on the road, suspicion follows. Who will betray you? Is the guard beside you secretly loyal to another lord? Night falls, and you return to your small chamber, your chest tight with unspoken worries. You see a sealed letter on your small desk. From whom? Is it a command? Or a trap? You don't know. And there's no one to ask. Life as a lesser knight isn't about honor on the battlefield. It's about a fragile dance between loyalty and survival. About pretending to understand while staying quietly alert. And in the silence, you realize this castle isn't just stone and walls. It's a nest of intrigue. And you are only a piece, always moving, never sure when your turn will end. Imagine yourself walking alone in a massive castle. At night, only dim torches flicker on the walls. Your footsteps echo softly across the ancient stone. But there's a corridor that isn't on the map. It's a small door that looks like part of the wall. Medieval castles are often linked to secret passageways and torture chambers. But what was real and what was embellished by 19th century writers and modern movies? Secret corridors did exist, but not for drama. Most were built for practical reasons, to escape during sieges or to allow servants and guards to move unseen by important guests. These passages were narrow, humid, and dark, sometimes only wide enough for one person to walk while hunched. The air was thick with the scent of limestone, moisture, and ancient mold. Some led outside the castle, emerging from the hills or into forests, but most simply connected parts of the castle kitchens to dining halls, towers to noble quarters, chapels to cellars, and, of course, to the place many feared to name, the dungeon, a word often paired with torture. But in truth, most castle dungeons weren't filled with grim devices. They were used to store food, wine, weapons, or sometimes as basic holding cells. Cold rooms with iron bars and chains. That said, torture did happen. There were chambers in certain castles, especially during political or religious upheaval, used for interrogation. But many infamous devices like the Iron Maiden or spiked chairs were inventions of later eras, rarely, if ever, used in medieval times. More realistic tools: hanging ropes, limb stretchers, or even the steady drip of cold water, not gruesome visually, but mentally exhausting. And among all that remained the fear of the unknown corridor. "The walls can speak," they used to say, because sounds would often emerge from behind stone walls trickling water. Small animals, or perhaps only the echo of someone's step. Life in a castle wasn't all grandeur. Behind feasts and great halls, there were always spaces left unspoken, narrow, dark, and silent, where secrets were hidden, and sometimes forgotten. Imagine yourself in the great hall of a castle on a cold winter night. A large fire crackles in the stone hearth, casting flickering orange light and the scent of burning wood. Long wooden tables stretch across the room, filled with hard bread, roasted meat, salty cheese, and large jugs of wine or ale. The clinking of goblets, laughter, and the gentle strum of instruments float through the damp air. This is the other face of castle life, the noble feast. The throne room was not only a place for court and diplomacy, often became the site of banquets, celebrations, and sometimes chaotic revelry. Nobles, honored guests, and paid poets gathered there to celebrate war victories, marriages, or simply the idle slowness of a long winter. Wine flowed freely, and stories grew taller. Knights recounted battles with a glimmer in their eyes, though the truth may have been far less glorious. Noble women laughed, sometimes politely, sometimes with a sharpness only fellow aristocrats would understand. But not everyone was enjoying themselves. Servants rushed back and forth, cleaning vomit from stone floors and replacing melted candles. A kitchen boy might stand in a corner, eyes drooping, holding a steaming tray from the basement kitchens. And beyond the thick walls, guards kept silent watch. Feast or not, a castle was never truly safe. Political intrigue, hostage deals, and betrayal could lurk beneath even the warmest smiles. Sometimes, in drunkenness, loose words were spoken, promises made, secrets spilled, and often morning arrived with a heavy head and heavier consequences. Yet for the nobility, feasts were performances. They displayed their status through luxurious gowns, flashy jewelry, and commissioned songs of praise. Even their laughter was measured not too loud to remain graceful, but hearty enough to assert social power. Outside, the night wind fluttered the castle banners. Peasants and townsfolk below had long since gone to bed, their bodies tired from labor. They neither knew nor cared what happened in the great hall atop the hill. In the darkness, the feast continued. Cups were raised, and stories flowed beneath candlelight, growing ever shorter. But like everything else in this castle luxury, too, cast its own shadows. And so it ends. A long night inside a castle, damp, cold, and full of shadows. From the shivering morning in a stone chamber to the knight who dared to dream beyond his birth. From the secret corridors echoing with whispers and legends to wine-drenched feasts where laughter could mask deceit. Every wall in a castle holds its own tale. Life in a castle was no fairy tale. It was harsh, at times hollow, often laced with manipulation, but therein lay its strange beauty. Among damp stones and candlelight, we glimpse humanity, those who dreamed, feared, hungered, loved, and endured. As you lie down tonight, perhaps the footsteps in the castle corridors have faded. The torches have burned low. The servants sleep, and the nobles murmur through dreams. And you, gentle listener, have wandered once more through the quiet halls of history. The world may have changed, but the past continues to whisper softly, like wind brushing the towers of old stone. Good night, and sleep peacefully.